All right, so we're back here on a special Couch Coach Live. We're continuing our Super Week. We got I got JB in the building. What's going on, JB?
What's up? Couch Coach? What's up?
Everything is good, man. You know, Super Week is we rolling on around. It's Thursday. It's almost time for that big game. Just excited, you know.
Yeah, we're man. We're 3 days away. 3 days away. Yeah. Actually, 3 days from now at this exact time, we're probably going to be at halftime.
Yeah, we probably
game,
more likely. Yeah. And then that'll be the interesting storyline of who has the ball in the second half, and that's what I think about the Super Bowl. It's just so many different layers to it, because you know when we think about like in normal circumstances where you know normal halftimes were like 15 minutes or whatever, this one is like you know almost 30 minutes or what have you. It's more of an expanded halftime, and we always look at the team that's. Because and I remember we talked about this last year, and that's funny. It's like when we did the preview, matter of fact, Thursday before the Super Bowl, it's almost like I remember we were talking about this where we looked at it from the San Francisco angle, like keep the hot hand of Patrick Mahomes off that field and see if you can try to get the ball in the second half. So that's one of the things where we look at, like you're saying, that halftime is going to be definitely crucial. So, so we'll get it started real quick. Let's kick this intro real quick, and then we'll be right back. All right, so we're back here. So before we get to Super Bowl and the NFL news, we got to talk about this crazy situation that happened Tuesday night in Atlanta, where Courtside Karen, a new name was in NBA annals. We have, Magic Johnson, Air Jordan, King James, and now in the NBA,
Chef Curry.
Chef Curry. And now we have Courtside Karen. So we'll set it up. So this was on Tuesday night, and the Lakers were playing Atlanta on their quote unquote Grammy road trip. And LeBron James got in somewhat of a talking amongst men. And they had little, exchanges, and then the wife comes out of nowhere and then like spews this whole thing up with LeBron James, and it causes a scene to a point where her husband, I think, and some other people in their party were kicked out of that game. So your thoughts on Courtside Karen?
Well, there were two things that came in my mind when I saw the situation. Like one, you realize that probably over the course of the year, stuff like this happens quite often in a normal year, but we're not in a normal year, which brings me to my next point. This is a big story because there are a lot of arenas aren't letting fans in, and then you have some arenas that are letting fans in, but they're letting limited fans in, and it becomes an issue because of the times we're living, and we're living in a pandemic, basically. And I think the big issue was the fact that she removed her mask and she was talking and stuff like that. Like, I think that I kind of don't think this is that big of a deal. And like, I kind of agree with LeBron James. That LeBron James said after the game, I mean, he had jokes. He referred to her as Courtside Karen. He was like, I don't think they should have been kicked out the game. And I don't think they should have been kicked out the game either. But like, because of what's going on, I think that's why they were kicked out the game.
Yeah, I think, like you said, in a normal circumstance, I think, like you said, if it wasn't the situation, because I think it was more so of the mask being taken off, and then in proximity to a point where, especially if because let's do pandemic terminology, her droplets are spewing onto the court, so that could have been problematic. Yeah, but the beauty thing about all this, and especially in the year of 2021, and then just beyond in this social media culture, once again, LeBron James has the Midas touch. We always talk about this often, where LeBron James has put on so many people. Now you look at this person, she has a nickname. She has a moniker now. Her name is Courtside Karen. This woman went from doing makeup tutorials and now her followers have increased. I think they even said even her Instagram page is now private. So because I guess it's because as far as all those, but I tell you that LeBron James has the damn Midas touch, where essentially he coined the phrase. She's now going to be a little bit more famous, and now so that's one of the things where you look at from that standpoint of just how doing something of that nature can get you famous like that. And I think that's just one of the things where on her end, it's very smart. It's very smart. And even like us, we're talking about this tonight. And like you said, this normally wouldn't be a situation, but especially when LeBron, because really it's more so stemmed from LeBron James calling her Courtside Karen. Yes. That's where we were like, as far as having that term. So that definitely elevates her quote unquote celebrity at this point. Yeah. So yeah,
I think a better name would have been Courtside Kathy. Courtside Kathy would have been a little better, but like I digress. But yeah, I just think it was a non-issue. I think that sometimes in the heat of the moments, like I'll say this: you don't really normally see LeBron get into it with fans like that. I mean, like he generally is very mild man. He just lets his play speak for himself, whatever. Now, I think it would have been a bigger issue had that been like Russell Westbrook or something. Russell Westbrook may have like tried to go into the stands and like attack her or something like that, but that's another story. That's another story. But yeah, like because I was thinking about like when LeBron has gotten into it with like fans before, he generally doesn't say anything to them. He'll just like go crazy like he did against Cleveland. When Cleveland's bench trashed him last week during the game, he just went bonkers in the fourth quarter. Yeah. Or you remember when Chris Bosh's his baby mama, yeah. She had the thing and he went crazy. I remember that. Yeah. That was like back in 2008. So like that was back in 2008. Yeah. And who knew that like 2 years later he and Chris Bosh would be teammates.
Right, and the woman is nowhere. It's not around.
Yeah, right. I know, saying that he's a deadbeat, but like he normally doesn't get into it. I think it was just one of those things where kind of like you're on the mix of a long road trip, probably. You're caught up. You can't leave your hotel room, and a fan says something to you. You say something back, and it should have just been left at like the two guys saying something. But then she jumped in, and she actually she made things worse.
Yeah, and I think that's what it really stemmed from, and I think she wanted that because when you think about it, she wanted it because, like you said, it was two men. They were gonna because you know how we as men we gonna argue. The worst case scenarios we might get to blow. But that's the worst case scenario. But 9 times out of 10, we'll say our stuff and then we'll squash it right then and there. But then you add the extra element of the wife that want to come in and just and kind of put fuel to the fire because like we said, you squash it, men. We squash it. If we don't squash it, then some fisticuffs are going to happen. So, yeah,
and I mean, and let's just be honest. Like a fight would have never happened if LeBron throws a blow there. He gets suspended for like a long time or whatever, and the Lakers, Deshaun would be sad. The Lakers, back-to-back hopes go up in the smoke.
Yes, and then the little brothers will prevail. From the hallway brothers could prevail.
The hallway brothers. The hallway brothers are looking pretty. The hallway brothers are looking pretty good this year.
I know.
They're looking pretty good. They're looking pretty good this year. I got to give Ty Lue credit, man. Ty Lue came in. He's kind of changed like their whole offensive philosophy up. Like they're bombing away from threes. They're taking a bunch of threes and they're making a bunch of them.
And your boy, a.k.a. the Dennis, I thought that was a weird trade for them to get him. But Luke Kennard has been balling. And then, my goodness, Nicholas Batum, like he came from the graveyard in Charlotte, and now like he's reemerged.
It's just amazing what happens when you leave Charlotte. It's amazing when it's amazing what happens when you leave Charlotte. But yeah, Luke. No, I really like the Luke Kennard, the Luke Kennard trade because they needed another ball handler, and I do think that we're probably seeing the last of Lou Williams. I'm not sure if they trade Lou Williams this year, but like I believe his contract's expiring, so you need another ball handler. But yeah, no, like the Hallway brothers are looking pretty good this year. I would say it's we're gonna have to talk about ball, man, because like what's going on in the East? What's going on in the East this year, man? That's dude. I think I don't know if you met my roommate from uni, Menelik. He's from New York.
Yeah,
we were actually
I met him.
Yeah. So we were talking about this. We were saying that we think that there's a chance that because I said before the year that I thought that the Nets just had like the highest ceiling of any team in the East based off of like what Kyrie and KD can do, but like I just think that like even though their defense sucks, I think that they're going to be active in the buyout market. I think that they could definitely win the East with a shitty defense.
Yeah,
like because I like what team in the East really scares you in the play? Like I mean, Philadelphia has the best record, but like I mean, like Ben Simmons is going to be a non-factor in the playoffs. And then you with Milwaukee, you have to worry about Giannis. Is Giannis going to be able to do his thing in the playoffs? So I think that we might be looking at Brooklyn going against one of the LA teams in the finals.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah,
and perfect segue. So we're talking from the LA basketball perspective. Now we're talking about the LA football team with the LA Rams. So Mathew Stafford is gone from Detroit. He was traded to the LA Rams. So the Rams received Mathew Stafford, and then in return, the Lions received a 2022 and a 2023 first-round pick, a third pick in 2021 this year, and then Jared Goff. So Jared Goff will take his talents from Inglewood to bite kneecaps in Detroit. Your thoughts on that trade?
I thought it was a win for the Rams. I think a lot of people were making a big deal about the first round draft. So let's just like put it like this or whatever. So if Mathew Stafford stays healthy, and even if he doesn't stay healthy with Woodford, I think that you have two better quarterbacks than what you were getting from Goff. I think Goff he started off the year well last year, but as the season went on, his play started to fade. So I just look at it from this point, man. Like you give him the two first round picks. If Stafford stays healthy, and Stafford's not that old, he's actually younger than what I thought he was. He'll be 33, I think, sometime next week.
Right.
If Stafford stays healthy, you're going to be picking in the mid to late 20s, or hell, I mean, if you make the Super Bowl, you might be the 31st pick or 32nd pick if you win it. Think about it this way: Are you going to get a quarterback who can come in the first round, the end of the first round, that can play like Mathew Stafford? And I think the answer is no. So I don't think that you look at it from that standpoint. I don't think giving up the first round picks is like that horrible. And I just think that they really wanted to get off of the Goff deal. Like, I mean, like Goff has really, since he got that deal, like, I mean, you look at that offseason, Goff got that deal, and you look at Carson Wentz getting that deal. Those are two really bad contracts right now. And I just really think that what it just shows me is that, like, had Warford not gotten hurt in that Seattle game, Goff wouldn't have touched the field again.
Yeah.
They just wanted off of that deal. And I think that, like, Goff is good when he can play action, but if it's a drop back kind of game, he's not a drop back quarterback. Mathew Stafford, say what you want to about him, I think that in many ways, I think Detroit failed him by not surrounding him with like a good team sometimes. But Stafford can go back and he can throw the hell out of the football, man. I think that, like, worst case scenario, when we think of Stafford is probably a top 12 guy, but at his best, Stafford is in that 6 to 9 range at his best. So I mean, like, I think that they really won the trade, in my opinion. And Detroit, depending on if they can draft well, they did well for themselves too if they can draft well, but that remains to be seen.
Right, and that's the thing too, where if you're looking at the track record, well, we really don't have a track record because this team is as far as general manager, everything is pretty much fairly new. Like you said, if the picks pan out, then that's perfect. And like you said, but the Rams is a perfect spot for them because they're in a win now mode. So to me, you look at even how they were in the playoffs, and then you think about just the competitiveness of the NFC West. Like they had to get a quarterback of this type of nature to compete, because you got to compete with the Kyler Murrays. You got to compete with Russell Wilson. I keep on saying Westbrook. I always do that. I've been doing that for like 10 years. and you got to compete with those, and then whoever San Francisco brings in, either if it's Jimmy G or whoever.
Kirk Cousins.
So, Kirk Cousins, which I think is going to probably end up happening.
Yeah.
And then you look at, because you would think about it, this is probably going to be one of the best quarterbacks that Sean McVay has ever had.
Oh,
and I tell people, and people always wonder why I'm so high on Sean McVay. You got to remember, he turned Kirk Cousins to a 4,000-yard receiver. 4,000-yard passer. And in one of those years were without Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garçon. So that's the thing about it. So you look at if, bringing in that type, like you said, and then because what happens is, like you said, JB, being in Detroit, it ruined him. So like you said, people don't really see the value per se, because in the same token, he hasn't had, like you said, he hasn't really had nobody around. You think about who is this, like his offensive coordinator? Like what? The Lombardi guy,
Linehan. Linehan. Yeah, he hasn't had good offense.
Jim Bob Cooter, remember Jim Bob Cooter?
Bob Cooter. Yeah. And they just they felt him miserably. And then you even look at the year, when they drafted, when they had, the year they lost to the Cowboys, that was probably their best. That was probably their best team. The year they lost to the Cowboys in the wild card game, and they had a pretty good defensive line, and then you just let the Nabakasu go. You let him go. You let Fairley go, and after that they really weren't the same. But I think that basically Mathew Stafford gets a lot of criticism. I think that people think he's not that good of a quarterback. I'm really interested in seeing what happens with Sean McVay, because Sean McVay has done wonders. Kirk Cousins was the guy that people were just saying he was a perennial backup pretty much. And, Sean McVay worked wonders with him. And Sean McVay, people forget, Jared Goff was horrible under Jeff Fisher. He was horrible. He was pretty much unplayable or whatever. And he took this guy and got him $34 million and took him to the Super Bowl. I think, McVay is a boy wonder, and this is definitely going to be the best. This is going to be the quarterback with the most talent that he's working with in his career, especially when it comes to arm strength, man. Because Stafford has a big time arm, man.
Yeah, and like you said, and yeah, because that team that won the Super Bowl, they were the fifth best offense in NFL history.
Yeah.
And you think about it, and you bring in a guy like Mathew Stafford in, that's definitely going to be great. And like I said on previous podcasts this week, I feel bad for poor little Jerry, because Jerry gonna have to go to Detroit and hunker down, have a mouth guard, because he'll have to bite off kneecaps for that dude, aka Dan Campbell. So. That's the thing about it, where it's just like, Detroit is just gonna be a situation, and you just hope the best for poor Jared. But Jared gonna be all right. Y'all just say a little prayer for him. Ain't nothing wrong with him, but he going to a bad situation. My God, but we'll see. But man. So so let's get to going with our Super Bowl preview. We'll get that going. So what is your storyline to watch in Super Bowl 55?
Our injury is gonna play a big part of it. I think that I'm looking at Tampa's injury report, and both of their safeties were banged up in that Green Bay game. Winfield Jr. and what's the other guy's name? I can't think of the other guy's name right now. Winfield and Jordan Whitehead.
Jordan Whitehead, yeah.
Jordan Whitehead. Jordan Whitehead. So are they going to be healthy? Because and then I'm looking at Kansas City's injuries. That Eric Fisher injury was huge. Jason Pierre-Paul, Shaq Barrett coming off the edge potentially. So to me, this Super Bowl is going to come down to, I think, whatever coaching staff makes the better adjustments based off of the injuries they have, I think will ultimately prevail. One of the things, and we didn't talk about the Green Bay Tampa game. People tend to forget that even though they got a lot of pressure, there were some plays that potentially Aaron Rodgers could have made had LaFleur chipped a running back over to the side where Pierre-Paul and Barrett were. I mean, because there were a couple of big plays that were left out on the field because Rodgers just couldn't get the ball off on the time. And I don't think Andy Reid's going to make the same mistake. But, Kansas City is doing their offensive line. What they thought their offensive line was going to be this year is not what it is because two of their offensive linemen opted out. And then, with Fisher being gone as well, that's another thing. So I'm just really interested to see what happens with these injuries because the injuries kind of play into the other team's strength. So like with Pierre, one of the strengths of Tampa's team on their defense is the front seven, especially those defensive ends. And with Fisher being gone, that hurts. But then on the same token, with Tyreek Hill and with, Travis Kelce, Mahomes can attack the middle of the field, man. You need for your safeties to be healthy. You can't have, them being gimpy back there as well. So I'm really looking at those two storylines are ones that I'm really watching for the game.
Yeah. I think one of mine is really generic. Obviously Patrick Mahomes versus Tom Brady, almost like the nemesis. It's almost like we look at, especially from a historical standpoint, Tom Brady is his kryptonite. We looked at the 2018 AFC Championship game where, Pat Mahomes didn't make it. And then, obviously Tom is now in the NFC. And I just want to see how that's going to play out. And also when we talk about injuries, 2/3 of the triple Bs of Pittsburgh fame are in this matchup. And will they even play? When you look at from the standpoint of Antonio Brown and also Le'Veon Bell, respectively, for their respective teams. So that's also interesting too. And I really just want to see kind of, and then just how everything plays out. Like the storyline is like how, especially now when you think about this whole situation with the barber getting COVID, the Kansas City Chiefs barber getting COVID, and just that was kind of like an interesting thing. And then had a guy got a haircut at mid cut and found out that he had COVID, and they pretty much stopped from then and there. So a lot of it too, and just the playmakers. I think when you look at just on both sides, and like you said, really just the coaching matchups. Especially, I think of Bruce Arians. I think of he's almost like a poor man's Andy Reid, where he's beloved, but they're almost kind of like literally the same. I mean, especially when we look at they're both beloved, and Andy Reid did get his ring last year, but it was one of the things where we looked at Bruce Arians as kind of one of those guys that's like, okay, well, not like on the Andy Reid scale as far as like accomplishments, but as far as just the likability and just, and then experience and what have you. But he's another one where we look at from there. And then the coordinators, especially Todd Bowles on the defensive side. And then also Byron Leftwich, that guy. Yeah. So that's one thing I just those compelling matchups and just how each other's going to, go against each other and just all that. And I think that's what's going to make it interesting because this is such I think, in my personal opinion, as far as a lot of things just like evenly matched in most categories. And it's just going to definitely be a good one. So what is your matchup to watch?
Oh yeah. I'm looking at the Eric Fisher position. Like, is the backup going to be able to hold up going against Jason Pierre-Paul? Now, I think that if he wins more than he loses, and you don't have to send a running back over to chip him, I think that that's definitely going to end up being a win for Kansas City. Another match I'm looking to watch for is Steve Spagnuolo versus Tom Brady. Tom Brady had a hard go of it in 2007 when he went against Steve Spagnuolo in the Super Bowl. I mean, like, you figure that like they weren't able to really take the lead until like the end of the game, and it was 14-10. So I mean, Steve Spagnuolo has given Tom Brady fits over the year. Even last year, when Steve Spagnuolo was the defensive coordinator, when they beat the Patriots, and I believe they beat the Patriots in New England, Tom Brady didn't really play that good of a game either. So I'm looking at that one right there because I think that that's one that people aren't really going to pay attention to. But there's a history between Steve Spagnuolo against Tom Brady.
Yeah. And I think, and also kind of to your point as well, as far as that, Kansas City offensive line losing Schwartz and also Eric Fisher. Now you're thinking, okay, well, can Mike Reimers do his thing where he's kind of one of those guys where they put him in spots in all across that offensive line, and then going against that force, that D line. Tampa Bay's D line, and then I know we talked about Jesse Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett. Then also a guy that you got to worry about, Vita Vea. I always talk about Vita Vea. Yeah. It's like the buzzword. He's back now, definitely after that Green Bay. After coming back from that injury, so I think he's back, and I think he's back better than ever. You look at that matchup, especially in the trenches. And that's the thing, and it's funny because it goes back to what we were talking about last year, where we looked at San Francisco's D line versus Patrick Mahomes and that offense, and we kind of was like we looked at as far as the pressure and what have you, and like you said, and the thing about the beauty of Patrick Mahomes in a sense where, yeah, he gonna get rid of that ball, and like you said, he can go in that middle and hit. Kelsey, he can hit Hill, almost similar to what happened in Week 12, where essentially that's when the game broke open in that Week 12 matchup, where he just went off and wasn't that second quarter and just got crazy. Which in a weird way, I think that's going to be one of the key factors in that match, especially in the O-line versus the O-line, Kansas City versus the D-line of Tampa Bay.
And I'm also interested to see how they play Tyreek Hill this time around too, man, because he killed them in that first quarter of the game. He really killed the Chiefs because he went for 200 yards in the first quarter of the game. So I'm just really interested to see what Bowles schemes up this time around.
Yeah, because I think and what was weird about that first matchup. They had them in a lot of single coverages. And I was like, But they, and to Todd Bowles' credit, he did get balled up in the second half. I mean, to Todd Bowles' credit, but just to put that out there for my former Washington football safety.
and if I'm not mistaken, that was kind of a turning point for Tampa because Tampa lost that game. If I'm not mistaken, didn't they have their bye? And then after the bye, they didn't lose. They're basically essentially they're essentially on a 7-game winning streak since that game. So
yeah, and that's the thing too. Where matter of fact, and I was talking to one of my guys who covered Tampa Bay, Larry Frank on and I even talked about this weeks, even maybe like October, November-ish. Like that was a perfect time to have a bye week for this particular team. Because normally when you're thinking, oh, you have a bye week in week 13, you're like, damn, we got 13 straight weeks essentially. But it came in the perfect time for them. Especially with all the turmoil and drama that was going on at that time, it gave them a kind of a week to kind of get everything going back and kind of just to relax. And luckily at that time they were remarkably healthy at that time, especially when you've been playing 12 straight football games. It's kind of that was kind of a but they was able to kind of recharge their jets, and then like you said, they've been winning ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like kind of a turning point, like that loss, and then the loss on Monday Night Football that they had against the Rams. Those were two of the loss because I think a lot of people, which is funny because you have like the show Monday Morning Quarterback, or no, you have Overreaction Monday. Overreaction Monday, which by the way, like it's really hilarious because there are a lot, and like people were saying, after they lost, the LA game, and after they lost. the game against the Chiefs, they were just like, this team is done. They'll make the playoffs, but they're definitely not going to do much. And, they proved people wrong. I mean, and, to the people who were saying it, I mean, they did have a point because who could you say that Tampa had really only beaten one team during the regular season that was good? They beat Green Bay. And that Green Bay team kind of fell apart after the first quarter. But they lost to the Saints twice, and they lost to the Rams, and they had lost pretty much every team that they had gone against. They had lost, and that I would say this whatever happened halftime in that Kansas City game that kind of changed their season because they made a game of it. I think people forget that they were getting blown out. They came out in the second half. They made adjustments, and they've been the last 7.5 games, they've been a different football team.
Yeah, big time. And and that's what you're saying. And it's funny because even at this point, they really have benched everything. Essentially, they've overcome everything that we thought was an obstacle. We thought, especially with the Saints, because everybody was like, "Well, the Saints gonna beat them a third time." I'm like, no, we learn from history. And we're not going to bring up a revision. We're not going to be revisional history guys, because I don't want to. It's going to hurt, and I don't want you to close your ears. But we all know how it happens. Trying to beat a team three times in a row, in a season, and it really doesn't bode well. But they've been the hottest team, and then also Kansas City's been hot. So that's another thing too, where you look at. Both of these just coming in just remarkably hard from the jump. So that's definitely gonna be something to really watch. So who are your X factors in this matchup?
I think that when I look at Tampa Bay, man, I think Goodwin, man. I think Goodwin is that X factor, man. I think Goodwin is the guy. He's people fear Mike Evans, and rightfully so, but I think that people don't really feel Goodwin. So he gets those one-on-one matchups, and he's definitely a deep threat, man. He's definitely an X factor for me on Tampa side of the ball. And on the defensive side of the ball, I can't think of the kid's name, the linebacker for Tampa Bay that had the huge game against New Orleans.
Devin White.
Yeah. He's the defensive X factor. I think that people pay attention to the defensive line, but I think that their linebacker play has been pretty good, man. They've done a good job of their linebackers have done a good job, him especially. So those are the two guys that I'm looking at for Tampa as their X factors. For Kansas City, I'm going to throw this name out there. I mean, and there's a question of whether he's going to play or not. Sammy Watkins, man. I think Sammy Watkins can be a huge X factor if he's able to go. I look for him to have a big game, man, because Kansas City they have so many weapons. And, you look last year, man, Sammy Watkins, I know the Tyreek Hill catch that set up the first touchdown on their comeback. That was huge. But Sammy Watkins, basically, he smoked Richard Sherman on the go-ahead touchdown drive. So, I look at Sammy Watkins, man. I think Sammy Watkins, if he can go, man, he's definitely going to be a problem for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, for Tampa, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to go with that running back core. I'm going to go with Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. Mm-hmm. I think the thing about it is getting them going could definitely help broaden this offense. And like I said, I don't want to be this kind of guy, but I want to be that kind of guy tonight. And I look at that running back core definitely helped them beat my beloved NFC East champion Washington football team 4 weeks ago. So I look at that, and then I think just that running back core, just to see what they can do. Because I know when we look at, especially when we look at on the defensive side for Kansas City, that's probably one of their biggest liabilities is stopping the run. So could you get something kind of out of that running game and kind of open up different opportunities for passing?
I want to throw this out there. That's one thing that kind of does concern me. Not from Kansas City's perspective or Tampa's perspective, but one of the things that I don't really like about Tampa's offense and is that they tend to run the ball a lot on first down and second down. And look, that's fine and dandy if you're getting, positive yards or whatever. But in the Green Bay game, and Green Bay is not the best run defense in the world, they were constantly putting themselves behind a 6 down. Brady played fabulous in the first half and he bailed them out. I think they were something unreal on third down conversions, and a lot of their third down conversions were third down and longs as well. But I don't think that that's a good idea to be doing against Kansas City, even though Kansas City's defense isn't a top 10 defense. I think that, I like Kansas City's secondary a little better than I like Green Bay's secondary. And I think that if you're in third and longs and you're throwing the ball down, Honey Badger is eventually going to make a play on the ball. So I think that they need to mix it up a bit. I don't think that they should be running predominantly on first down and second downs in this game. I think they need to mix it up a bit.
And that's what I was going, as far as allude to my my X factor on Kansas City side. I think because he has the Honey Badger pretty much has an act to get to make plays on the ball. And like you said, Tom Brady gave it up 3 times in that second half. And like you said, that was another situation where you got to think about it. Green Bay shouldn't have had no business being in that game, especially at halftime. This game should have been Tampa should have just packed it in, this and the third. But those 3 turnovers essentially, helped propel their comeback that fell tantalizingly short. But that's the thing where he, this is a little bit different. Like you said, Tyrann Mathieu just has that knack, and I think he's going to be able to kind of create some type of play that could definitely help the momentum. Because this is going to be, I think, when we look at this game, we really look at as far as the offensive weaponry of Kansas City, and then also with Tampa Bay. But what gets lost in it is we got 2 defenses that are able to make plays and that can create scoring opportunities for their particular team. So that's another thing too, because I know we talked about Devin White earlier in the first and one of the segments, and then now transition to Tyrann Mathieu, where both of these guys can make plays, and they're just as deadly as when we talk about the offensive weaponry, they're deadly defensive weapons when we look at from that standpoint. So that's going to be definitely how that's going to kind of play out. We look at from those both perspectives, but we're gonna have a good one. This one we thought, and it's funny, we thought last year was going to be. We hyped it up real good last year with San Francisco and Kansas City, but I think this one I think gonna live up to the billing.
Oh yeah, and I know that the score doesn't look like, but last year's game was a really good game. I mean, I think people will look at the final score. What was it, 31-20? They'll be like, oh, it wasn't a laugher, man. Kansas City, they dropped 3 touchdowns in the last 6 minutes of the game. So, no, I think that this one is going to be a barn burner as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That one was a good game as well, but more so. I think this is going to be even better game.
Yeah,
because that one, last year was a good game too, especially. I enjoyed it. Yeah, but man, it's definitely this game is going to be definitely. It's just funny, like you said. Also, shout out to our guy Pat. So Levante Davis getting a pick 6 in the second half. I keep visualizing this. Hey, Pat, when you down in Vegas this weekend, you gotta put a bet on that. But this is definitely gonna be this is definitely gonna live up to the billing. So gonna put you on the hot seat. Your prediction for this game?
I could see this game going either way. Now, talked with my friend last Saturday about this one. I'm gonna go Kansas City. I'm gonna go Kansas City 34, Tampa Bay 30. That's what I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Kansas City 34, Tampa Bay 30. I think it's gonna be a good game, but I just think that Kansas City just puts so much pressure on you, man. I really do, and I think that one thing that we saw last year, man, with Mahomes, man, even if he's down, he's never out. And, like last year looked dire, man. They were down 20-10, and like San Francisco had dominated them pretty much and made them look bad. And like, I'm going Kansas City in this game, man. Like, I could be wrong, and my Super Bowl track record until last year hadn't been good. I think I had gotten like the last 3 years wrong until last year, but I'm gonna go with Kansas City to do something that hasn't been done since Green Bay did it in 03 and 04. I'm gonna go with Kansas City in the repeat.
You know what's so funny? And like we said, I keep on talking about last year preview that we did Thursday for the Super Bowl. Now get you. We talked about this game, and I had like San Francisco, and we were talking about, you were like, Kansas City, if they get to 30 points, they're going to win this game.
Yeah.
And I remember that so faintly, like very, very, it was embedded in my brain. And I kept on thinking to myself, because I was like, well, they ain't going to get 30. And I was like, I don't think they're going to get to 30, because I think I had them them scoring like 24 and 24 to whatever that game. But like you said, if they get, you get to 30, if they get 30, they're gonna win this game. And then it was fun, like you said, and it was dire because what you said, they had 10 points with 6 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. And we thought, and I was like, and then it's funny after they start scoring, and then I'm like, you know what? JB right. Because when you sit down, you think about it, especially they got to 31. And you think to yourself, like you said, you can never count this team out. And that's the thing about that's what's so scary about it, in a sense. And not scary, but more so in the sense of that should have let you know, like give you confirmation, like, like this is it's there. But like, I'm gonna be a fool again, like I did last year. I think Tampa Bay is going to take this one. I think Tampa Bay is going to win 41-34.
Okay.
I got a funny feeling about this game, in a sense, and I think the really thing, when we look at San Francisco, they did a great job for the first 53 and a half minutes of that game. But I just cannot see, like, the thing about it is, if it's a close game, I'm gonna have to take Brady. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna have to just take him, and I think it's gonna be a situation where this game might come down to whoever get the ball last.
Oh yeah, it could definitely.
I have that weird sense, and I'm not saying that Andy Reid's gonna pull a Matt LaFleur or whatever, but I just have a funny feeling like Tampa Bay is gonna get this ball last, and they're gonna take care of business.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be a good game. I think both teams have the potential to get into the 30s. I just lean Kansas City, because one of the things that I think people killed Andy Reid for earlier in his career in Philly was that, like, he would kind of get conservative when he shouldn't have gotten conservative. I think that one of the reasons why he got conservative, I think that you're conservative when you don't trust a Donovan McNabb, you don't trust a Jeff Garcia. He has Patrick Mahomes now, and I think that, and even what's really crazy, man, I think when we look back at this playoff and we look at it in years past, we're probably going to look at Cleveland. We're probably like, Cleveland could have made the Super Bowl this year. Cleveland had the best chance of knocking them off. And Stefanski decided to punt the ball. And I thought that was a mistake, but like Andy Reid, man, he's a different coach ever since he got Mahomes. I've seen it, man. He's more aggressive. Even with Chad Henne, man, like doing that on fourth down with Chad Henne, man, that was gutsy, man. Like, I mean, like he and I'll say this. I think that if there is a situation where Kansas City is down and they're in the red zone, Andy Reid's not kicking a fucking field goal in the fourth quarter.
Absolutely
He's not gonna do what LaFleur did. And I think that one of the things that just really infuriated me about the outcome of that game was that, like, it's 28-20. You don't kick the field goal there, man. I trust Aaron Rodgers more than I trust my defense going against Tom Brady, and Tom Brady only having to get like 1 or 2 first downs. That was just not the smart thing to do.
Do you understand? Like, he was slicing and dicing you up in the first half. Like, everything, it was almost damn near a perfect performance in that first half. And you want to make sure he doesn't have the ball at any cost. Like, you want to make sure Aaron Rodgers had that football for the majority of the time. And like you said, he's a league MVP, even though they haven't released it yet. But we all know, quiet as kept, that Aaron Rodgers is going to be the MVP in this league.
Yeah.
I know that was really definitely questionable. So anybody who's watching, I want everybody drop down your predictions of this game. So before we close out tonight, I want to hear everybody else's predictions. But I tell you, man, it's gonna, like you said, and that's the thing, like you said, because now he's now a riverboat gambler, especially now like you said, he wouldn't have done that like with Alex Smith. Potentially like Kevin Cobb, Jeff Garcia, like you said, other guys.
No,
not at all. He wouldn't have, because he knew.
Yeah, dude, man, like he's a different coach.
Guy, Rafi, Green Bay guy, a Green Bay fan.
Yeah, he's a different coach, man. He's a different coach, and I've seen it. I was really happy for him last year. I mean, even though he did win a Super Bowl as an assistant with the Eagles. Well, no, with the 40, I believe with the Packers. He won it with the Packers. He won with the Packers. Yeah. He won with the assistant. Right? Yeah, and he and Arians, both of them are going for number 3. They're going. Arians won 2 as the offensive coordinator with the Steelers. Andy Reid won 1 as the head coach, 1 with Green Bay, and they're both going for number 3. So, may the best man win.
And then get this: Bruce Arians was the running backs coach. His first job was a running backs coach with Kansas City in 1989.
No, yeah,
I was like, interesting. And then get this, and this is what I got from our guy Larry Frank from he came onto the podcast on Tuesday, and Ryan Suckup. Now, mind you, Ryan Suckup is Mr. Irrelevant. He was drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs. Now he's the Tampa Bay. He's kicking for Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Dude. What you know what, dude? Like, I was thinking about this too. I would be tempted to pick Tampa in this game if it was going to be a packed house, because they're going to be at home.
Yeah,
this is a home game for them. But with them not really having that many fans, and I think that definitely did play a role in the Green Bay game. I think people were talking about, well, this is Aaron Rodgers' first NFC Championship game at home, and like there were only 9,000 fans there. Like, it's different, 9,000 compared to like 55,000 screaming cheeseheads.
Right.
It was really, really, really different. Yeah. So,
and you bring up a good point. And you know what's funny? Let's now talk about a post-pandemic life that we're going to eventually. But anyway, now when you think about it, because normally when you think about the Super Bowl, it's like more like a corporate type of situation. But like you said, now I wonder, like going forward, if teams do host Super Bowls, like as far as if that happens again, like as far as how many like would be like Tampa Bay fans versus like all these other, like, because normally it's like a corporate type of thing where a lot of those sponsorships and all them, they the ones who get the tickets and what have you. So that's another thing too. I think that's gonna be that down the road if that ever happens again.
Oh yeah.
Like as far as when you look at as far as the percentage of like, as far as how many like diehard fans versus, like the corporate fans and what have you. So that's another thing that's going to be definitely interesting going forward. And like now, and that's the one thing that's weird about it, because everybody talk about, because it was only going to be like 2,400, and then 7,500 of them are going to be healthcare workers, healthcare and frontline workers and what have you. and then cardboard cutouts. I mean, I'm just saying, right?
Cardboard cutouts.
Yeah. And you know what? And I know this is going to kind of veer off the other end. I was getting ready to buy one for the playoff game when we played Tampa Bay. I literally thought about it. I was going to get one, but I was like, you know what? No. Like, because I was going to try to see if they can mail it to your house. Because I would have loved to keep that as a memento, but.
Oh, yeah.
But I think they were going for like $100 for the Super Bowl for the game on Sunday. So I was like, yeah, it's gonna be, yeah, and that's what I think it's gonna be definitely going forward. How that would potentially work, and this is just such a different, weird year. So all this stuff is gonna be, and then just the whole thing with like Kansas City traveling Saturday. So I think that's gonna be something like, even though that normally it's a normal week. So that's another thing too. I think will probably help too. Almost like in the when we talk about like I know we're veering off, but like when we talk about how basketball in the bubble, there was a difference. And I think this one is almost, I think it's gonna help both teams in a sense where they kind of are a normal week, because normally that's what everybody always say. Well, we try to make it a normal week, but we know it's not a normal week.
Oh no, it's not.
It's kind of in a sense is a normal week in most circumstances this time.
Yeah, no, it definitely is, because the Super Bowl turns into like a media shit show most of the time, and then you always have some kind of controversy, but it's been very mundane this year. There have been like no controversies, no nothing. So I mean, like, I think the guys can just definitely focus on the game more. So yeah, okay, but yeah, dude, I'm looking forward to the game. I'm definitely looking forward to the game on Sunday, man. I'm looking forward to it a lot, actually. So.
Me too. I'm primed and ready. Definitely getting that going. And yeah, man. So we did our predictions. JB, you going with the Kansas City Chiefs. And of course, I'm betting against Patrick Mahomes once again. And it might have egg on my face, but hey, there's always washcloths. I got Tampa Bay. In this matchup. So we'll put a bow on this week's Couch Coach Live. Any final words? Any final thoughts before we end it?
No final thoughts, man. May the best team win, and hope we get a good Super Bowl. And generally speaking, man, we have gotten really good Super Bowls. I mean, I think the lousiest Super Bowl we've gotten in like the last few years was probably the Seattle versus Denver Super Bowl was a really bad one. But other than that, man, the Super Bowls have been pretty good, man. The last 10, 11 years, they've been pretty good. No blowouts usually. Yeah.
And even the one that everybody hated, I loved, like the Rams versus the Patriots. I love that Super Bowl. That was such a defensive matchup. If you were infatuated with defense, this was your game. Ah, man, no way. It was all right. I mean, it was a defense. It was a defensive shut. It was a defensive Super Bowl. It wasn't pretty. I'll put it that way. But definitely appreciate you, Rafi, for joining us on the show. And yeah, it was too slow. Absolutely. So definitely appreciate it. Definitely it was a great show. Definitely appreciate you, Rafi, for tuning in and interacting with us. And definitely you also not rooting, but you have Kansas City winning in this matchup. So follow the podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram on the Couch Coach Live. Follow the podcast on Apple, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast. We're there. Also the YouTube, Couch Coach Live. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, comment. Just throw your boy some love, and we'll continue Super Bowl week tomorrow as well. We have a special guest tomorrow. That'll be tomorrow at 7:00. Then we got some few other things going on for the rest of the weekend. So, man, definitely appreciate everybody for checking us out this week. And we'll catch you guys later. This has been Couch Coach Live.